We are online now. So today is chapter 15, Purshottam Yoga, right? Yoga of the Supreme Person. So let us pay obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nanakashalakaya Chakshurmitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadotam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitam Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, let us do a little recap about what we did yesterday. That was chapter 14, 3 modes of nature. So in chapter 13 and 14, we are Krishna is talking about Prakriti, the Purusha, that is the living entities who are enjoying this thing. And here in this chapter 14, it was mostly on the 3 modes of nature. That's what we saw. That is Sattva Gun, mode of goodness. Rajas was a mode of passion, and Tamas was a mode of ignorance. So here, the best example of goodness is they are mostly be scientists, philosophers, and poets. Actually, they are very proud of their knowledge, and the characteristics is the Sattva Gun, they'll be in of happiness because they are happy. They have a sense of happiness because most of them, they are free from sinful reactions. They have a sense of happiness because of and also they get a sort of material happiness also because of their improved condition. This sense of happiness will bind them in the cycle of birth because they won't go beyond that. They will be like in a comfort zone. So that thing, and also they have that sense of superiority in themselves. So they don't go beyond that. And thus the mode of goodness. But passion, they are bound by the rope of desire and attachment. That is, they will, whatever they have got, they'll be too attached to the results of they have got. Like, what they have, the material wealth or assets or the honor or the thing, they will like to have that. So they'll be attached to that kind of fruit, the products of that activities. And they also will be hankering for some more things. They want some more things. So that thing, they will be caught into that. So they'll always be endeavoring. They'll always be working for that more and more fruitive activities. They are born with that. And so they are not satisfied with just one or two. Also, they want a palatial house for their family, for their children, and when they want to have a status and to maintain that. For that kind of thing, whatever they know, they'll go on think they'll be like a rajas. There won't be, there always be anxiety, and they will think. There is tamas gun or just the opposite of the goodness. It's not that they don't have the capacity or thing, but they are not that like a irresponsible. They don't want to thing, like, when they say it's manifested by madness means they see everybody dying and all that, but still they'll be accumulating money and not caring for the eternal spirit. They don't believe in rebirth. They think that's all there is to think. When the society is like that, I'll just follow that. And they won't bother to the spiritual thing, and they will act whimsically. So that is it. And also they'll be quite lazy, and they oversleep. So and all these modes is not that one, it will be there in each person at different circumstances and different situations will have these influences, and they'll be raised for prominence. Sometimes it'll be more in the goodness, sometimes it'll be in thing. And we saw what happens in the action, in the modes, and how we have to transcend these modes. So we have to live in goodness. At least we have to live in goodness, and we have to connect everything to Krishna. Only then we can transcend these modes, engage in direct bhakti yoga. Okay. So this is what we saw yesterday. And I think this is what the summary is. I just talked about. Happiness is the mode of goodness, and they are attached fashion, fruitive activities. Ignorance are mostly in the mode of madness and laziness. And what happens when they die? They will, tamas guna, they'll go to lower planets, whereas the fashion people, they'll be the earthly thing, destination, and goodness, they will go to higher planets. But they're all bound, so they have knowledge. So we need to go beyond that. So leaving this is what we saw. And today, so we are talking about mostly how we are getting attached, entangled in the material world. Okay. So now Krishna is going to talk with a different model. They talked about with the modes of nature, influence of the goodness, passion, and then ignorance. And now he's talking about how to get detached from the material world. Again, with a different, it's an inverted banyan tree. Then transmigration, again touches. See, this transmigration is something like, the soul takes different bodies and after the death. So that concept, many people don't, they don't want to believe. So it's many mental speculators, philosophers, they don't believe in that. So Krishna is pointing out to that, how we transmigrate, because that is the something which we need to firmly realize. Only if we realize that, realization of the self, that is most important. Only then we'll be able to progress in the spiritual path. Then he talks about how Krishna is maintaining us, and only if we understand that, appreciate Krishna, then we'll be able to surrender. Then he gives the summary of Vedanta Sutra. But here, what we want to point out here is, in the beginning itself, in all the other chapters, he had not touched about Vedas, right? Vedas he said, but he didn't go into this. But here he is touching about Vedas. In fact, Bhagavad Gita, the essence of Vedic scriptures is Bhagavad Gita. So here he is touching about Vedas, and he says, the essence of Vedas, the purpose of Vedas is everything is to know the Lord. So that summary of Vedanta Sutra is also he covers in this chapter. Vedascha sarvai haham eva vedyo tiyuguya tamam shastra. So this is the overview of this chapter. So big. Sri Bhagavan uvacha urdhva moolam ada shakam asvatam prahor abhyayam chadamsi yasya parnani yastam vedascha vedavid. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upwards and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns, and who knows this tree is the knower of Vedas. So he is talking about, let me see, okay. So this is how he talks about a banyan tree. So banyan tree is an inverted banyan tree, and it has got roots on the top, and the branches are all going down. Actually, we don't find such a tree in the world, isn't it? As an upward thing. And But you can see such a kind of image of a tree is when you see its reflection in the water. So if you see the tree near the river and its reflection in the water, you can see it's upside down. You can think it will look like this, like the roots are up and the branches are out down here. So he is talking about the reflection of the spiritual world here. The material world is nothing but a reflection of the spiritual world. And the basis of reflection is from the desire. See, even he touches upon the desire. He was even in the last two chapters, he said, because the jivas, living entities, wanted to be in this desire to lord over the material world. And so they had come. So they were sent from the spiritual sky to the material world. So the material world is nothing but like a reflection of the spiritual sky. It's like it's not a real thing. There's everything, whatever we have in the spiritual, you also can see the variety in the material world, but it is all perverted. Okay, all that. But one more thing is you can understand is if you see any reflection, if you see yourself a reflection in the mirror, you can understand there's a person standing in front of it. Whatever you see inside the measures, that shows there's something in front of it, isn't it? So the material world is when we say it's a reflection, that means there is something in reality. That is what we call as the spiritual world. Okay, and then this inverted banyan tree is something like this. On the top, it starts from the top, no? So that's where Brahma sits. So from Brahma, is a secondary creator. Then you see all the heavenly planets, all the higher planets will be on the top. And as you go down only, you will have the earth planet, where the living entities and the lower planets are below. This is how the trees are thing. And all the hymns that leaves of this tree is the Vedic hymns. Okay, and the fruits of these trees are these things: religion, economic development, dharma, artha, then karma, then so this side, as it goes, the branches going down are the results of the impious activities, and there are some branches are going up also. They are the pious activities, and there are small lot of sense objects, and here we see living entity going from one branch to the other branch, trying to enjoy here in this material world. So this reflection is not factual, but it indicates there's a reality, and the reflection is from the desire. Okay, so this is what he says. Then Krishna says, the branches of this tree extend downwards and upwards, nourished by the three modes of material nature. Twigs are the objects of senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. So this is what I said. You see, if the trees are near the river, you can see its reflection here. So that means that by seeing the reflection, you can understand, there's a tree in reality there standing. Same way, here Krishna is talking about this whole cosmic thing is like a banyan tree with the roots up and going down, and the reflection is by the desire. Because of the desire, this whole thing has come up. Then the real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. Okay, no one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. So this is the complication. So we understood that this material world is so where our karmas there, when did we come to this world, we don't know, and all that. So he says this tree is like that, so dense. So you can't if you try to trace it out where and try to go up, it's not possible. So it is very spontaneous. Only with determination, one must cut down this tree with a weapon of detachment. Only when you cut down, then only you can get detached from this material world. So how you can do is you must seek that place from which, having once gone, one never returns. So how do you want? We need to go to a place from where there's no cycle of birth and death. And that Krishna keeps saying, unless you surrender to the Supreme Personality of God, from whom everything has begun and whom everything is abiding since time immemorial, only then that is the place we have to go. So how do you get detached is what he said by cutting down this. He is not trying to find out the where it starts or where it ends is. That's not the thing. So here Krishna is telling us what to do. So we have to find out. That means we have to detach ourselves from the material. And how do we do that? Unless we go through. And this is what is given in the scriptures. The Vedic scriptures also say the same thing. So when he says the Vedas, even the Vedic scriptures tell us, and there are a lot of rituals are there, and if you go study it very deeply, finally it just tells that the ultimate goal in the purpose of Vedas is to tell us how to go back to him. And here we are getting it in a nutshell. So have to cut. This is the place. And this is the banyan tree, which we said it is reflected on the desire. And you have the roots such as uproot roots, is the Urdhva Moolam. And there are branches going down, other Shakam. And these leaves are the Vedic hymns, and tips of the branches are senses, and twigs are the sense objects, and the fruits are the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So this is how he using the model and telling us it's so complicated. Instead of trying to, we are entangled in this. So you don't know how to come out of it. We have to only cut. Only if you cut down this root with a weapon of detachment, we can go back to his abode. So, na tad bhashyati suryo, na shashanka pavaka, yad gatva na nivartante, te tad dhama paramam mama. That abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon nor by electricity. One who reaches it never returns to this material. So he keeps talking about the spiritual. There is a spiritual world, spiritual sky, that is his abode. Once you go there, you won't be, there's no need to come back to this material world. That means we will be free from the cycle of birth and death. But for the other planets, which we go to higher heavenly planets, to Svargaloka or to the Brahmaloka, Pitraloka, you have to, after your credit is over, you need to come back to to this earth for again to purification, to go back to the thing. So that cycle of birth, we are not freed. Whereas if you go to the spiritual world where the Krishna is, that abode you don't have to return to this material. And that is, you don't need to have sun for illumination, because it is effulgence by the Lord itself, it's illumined. Okay, so he talks about that. This is a spiritual world. Whereas the material world, you need to have sun for illumination. Otherwise, it's always in the dark. Then he gives us this is a very important verse. Mamai vamsho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatanaha, manaha sastanindriyani, prakriti stani kashyati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. So, Mamai Amsha. So, we are here he very clearly says that we are a part and parcel of him. Okay. But part and parcel of him doesn't mean that we have, and here he says Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. That means we are eternally fragmented parts. Only thing is we desire to come to enjoy, have a enjoyment in the material world. So for that reason, we have come down into this earth, and we have gone through many species. Of course, 84 lakh species. In that 4 lakh species is the human beings. And so we are in this living entities, and he says we are, because we are conditioned. Why we are conditioned? We have got caught into because if you are in one particular state, you are bound by the state laws, isn't it? Laws of that state. Like for example, in India, you can drive only on the left-hand side, whereas if you go to US or another place, there the traffic rules is different. So wherever you go, there is a particular rules and regulations which you have to follow. Same here, because we have the material world, there's a rules and regulations which the Lord has created, laws of nature, which we are bound by that. So we get influenced by the modes of nature. So we saw that in the last 2 chapters. And so, because I think we are struggling, because we are thinking that we are the body and we have forgotten the existence of the Lord. We have lost our connection with the Lord. So we are struggling here. So he says clearly that we are a part and parcel of him. We are a fragmented part. So we have Satchit Ananda. We have everything little, little. We are like a drop of ocean, water in the ocean. No? It will have all the characteristics of the ocean, water in the ocean, right? Same way, we have all the small thing, characteristics of the Lord, Satchit Ananda. But only thing is we have forgotten the that we are the part and parcel of him. We have lost the connection. And so we think we are this body and this is our the position, and we are struggling here. We are always changing our body from one body to another. Okay. So, Shariram yad apnoti yad chapi ukramatishwaraha vritvani samyati vayur gandhan nivashya. Gandhan is just me. So, the living entity in the material world carries its different conceptions of life from one body to another as air carries aromas. Like, air carrying aromas, no, when the wind blows over rose garden, and we can, from there, when the smell itself, you can make out that the wind has come from the rose garden, right? The scent it carries around or thing. So like that, when we change our body, this is talking about our transmigration from one body to other. 5 things we carry with us. One is, as I said, we carry our subtle body. So along with that, our karmic reactions, that is our reactions of our pious activities and impious activities also, we carry that. Then we also carry our desires. There are so many desires which are latent in our mind which we have not fulfilled. Okay, that also we'll be having with us. And then also the modes which we have been in the predominant, the modes which we have been in. That also will, that kind of modes also influence will be carrying with us. Like this scent, we'll be carrying that. And also will be the mentality. So he says, this is how he's talking about this transmigration. Like it carries the different conceptions of life. So if you had behaved like you want to be like a dog or a cat, that kind of mentality if you have, then you will be having that kind of a body you will have in the next birth. Okay. So this is how we live in this world, in this life is what matters, how we create our body in the next life. Actually, the foolish people don't understand this, many people, and they don't believe in reincarnation, and they will live as per their whimsical manner. But here clearly, Krishna says the living entity in the material world carries its different conception of life from one body to another as the air carries aromas. So the living entity thus takes another gross body. Then it will have a certain type of ear, eyes, tongue, nose, all that senses which are grouped. It thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So all that mentality as per his desires, what you had, that kind of body he'll get. So this is how the material nature will give. This is the law of nature. Okay. So, and we are the ones who are desiring it. And we are the ones who are our karma and our path. So our destiny of how our body should be, we are desiring it. And that's how the material nature facilitates to give us that. Okay. So this is what Krishna says here. Then the foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. So like, this gives a nice example here. This car has broken down and he has opened his bonnet and he's trying to figure out what was the problem and he's not able to do that. But if it is a mechanic, then he can easily get to know what was the problem and he can rectify it because he's been trained in that. Same here, we have, unless you are trained in this knowledge means it's not the academic knowledge we have, but the transcendental. This is the spiritual knowledge which we are going through now, trying to read from Bhagavad Gita, Vedic scriptures. So these are the knowledge. So if you get trained in that under a spiritual master. Then you can understand this about this science which how we are caught in the spell of Maya, and how because of that influence, and how we are influenced by it, and how we are getting another body. So we have to go beyond that. That's why we said in the last chapter, we have to at least be in the mode of goodness and go beyond the mode of goodness also by Krishna consciousness. So this is what, unless you're trained in knowledge, we can see all this. The endeavoring transcendentalist who is situated in self-realization can see all this clearly. So he can be our spiritual master. But those who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try to. So we need to get training. So training is important. Otherwise, that means a guru is required for us to understand what is given in Shastras and what has been, how to come out of this modes of nature and be relieved from the cycle of birth and death. So, and we have to get purified by the bodily identification. Otherwise, we are always caught up with our identity with the body. And we will be, the body is, once you are identifying yourself with your body, that is my family, my country, my this thing, then you are in this material world, modes of nature, you will be caught, entangled in that. Then it says, I enter into each planet, and by my energy, they stay in orbit. I become the moon, and thereby supply the juice of life. So if we have to struggling with this word existence, only then to come out of that, we said, no, we have to see the Supreme Personality of God. So we have to go back to, we have to revive our consciousness. That is, we have forgotten our connection to the Lord, isn't it? So we need to revive that. Actually, it is there, dormant in everyone, in every living entity. It is dormant. It is there, but we need to revive that. So now he's giving us the way how we can revive this consciousness. So he's telling that he is entering into each planet, and by my energy, they stay in the orbit. I become the moon, and thereby supply the juice of all life to all vegetables. So that means all these planets are all going, moving around, and as per the energy of the Lord, isn't it? It is not deviating. Nobody is thinking how it is going around, and the planets in its, in its own orbit. It doesn't change its orbit at all. Okay, and it's all, there's a energy which is holding it. So we can, and Krishna says, I enter into each planet. See, when the as I showed you, yesterday, the universe. So when the when the universe is created, then Garbhodakshina Vishnu will enter into each and the universes and maintains it, and through his energy. And then Kshirodakshina Vishnu will enter into each atom, into each living entity, and all that because of their energy, superior energy. All these planets or atom or everything, living entities up to the thing are all by they stay in the orbit as through his energy. So we can appreciate he is the maintainer of this universe, and without the sun we can't live, isn't it? We need the sunlight, and we need the moonlight, and all that we need for our life. Okay, and this is all being maintained by the Lord Krishna, right? And then he says, I am the fire of digestion in every living body, and I am the air of life, prana, outgoing and incoming, by which I digest the 4 kinds of food stuff. So here even Ayurveda says that there is a fire of digestion here, that we know only to put the food into our stomach, but how the process goes on inside, that we don't understand. Okay, that we don't know. But that is what he says, I am the fire of digestion. And also the incoming and the prana, the air of life. In fact, people say here, scientists, that we need oxygen for human beings. Yes, of course. But in higher planets, you don't have oxygen and all that. But that's a prana. That is most important, air of life. In fact, when the soul leaves the body, that means when somebody dies, that's a prana which leaves the body. That is the soul leaves. So he says, I'm the air of life, outgoing and incoming air. And then he is digesting the 4 kinds of foodstuff. And what are the 4 kinds of foodstuff? There are foodstuffs you chew them, right? And there are foodstuffs you drink, no? And there are foodstuffs you lick by your tongue. And there are foodstuffs which you suck. So these are the 4 kinds of foodstuffs which you take in, and then this is what is being digested. And digested food goes as the blood, and it goes and nourishes the whole body, right? Fire dash. So he is maintaining the universe, and from where we get facilities for our livelihood, and is also maintaining our body by digesting our food and the air, life air. Now he is also maintaining our mind. Sarvasya chaham iriti sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apoho cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Okay. And Vedascha Sarvairaham Eva Vedyo, Vedanta Krit Veda with Eva Chaham. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So in the Vedic scriptures also it is given that he is the compiler, of course, because he gave the Vedas when Lord Brahma was created. Then he didn't know what he has to do because he was created and he was just looking around. And by tapas, he gets the darshan of the Lord. And then the Lord gives him the Vedas, how to create the secondary creation, how he has to do it. So by the Vedas, he is the compiler of the Veda, and he is the knower, and he is the knower of the Vedas. So he is giving us the intelligence. So we remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness also there, because we don't remember our past life, no? Otherwise, it will be very troublesome. We cannot live in this world if we know what we have done in the past and all our previous lives. Okay? So forgetfulness, remembrance, knowledge, and all that is there. From him only we get it. So it's a buddhi. So he's maintaining our body, maintaining our buddhi, maintaining the universe. So once we know that, we should be grateful to him, and we should be appreciative and saying that's a supreme. Then he continues to say that there are 2 kinds of classes of being, the fallible and the infallible. So we are the ones who are the fallible beings because our body keeps changing, no? So we are in the soul when we keep going from cycle birth to that, they are in the material world. And infallible beings are the ones who are in the spiritual sky. So they are eternally there, and they are having transcendental body. Okay. And it's put every entity is called infallible. Okay. They have their transcendental body. Nothing. And beyond that, beside these 2, there is the greatest living personality, the Lord himself, who has entered into this world and is maintaining them. So he is maintaining the subtle body, is maintaining this, and we are living entity who are there. Beyond that is Krishna. Okay. Knowing means we should understand our own self. So we should understand our position and whatever thing, that is what we need to realize. So this is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and the infallible, because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as the Supreme Person. So this is been there established even in the Vedas. So only thing is we have not read the Vedas, so we don't know. So he says he is the greatest and celebrated both. So here we are understanding him as the Purshottam. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is there in the Vedic scriptures also. So this is where we see all the Devatas, Brahma, Shiva, all worshipping the Lord. This is the unique position of the Lord Krishna. And all the time we see Brahma also all the time meditating on the Lord. Even Krishna, when Shiva, he also, and even Parvati was asking whom are you all meditating? He says it's on the Lord Krishna. So they're all in that thing because they know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting. So if you doubt, then there's no one can help you. Without doubt, it is to be understood as the knower of everything, and he therefore engages himself in full devotional service, O son of Bharata. Emam evam ashramuto janati purushottamam sa sarva vid bhajati mam. Bhajati mam means full devotional service, sarva bhavena Bharata. So this is the Bhakti Yoga. Only by that, the full devotional service, then you can surrender to the Lord. And he has to, without doubt, that if you doubt it, then you cannot do devotional service. So he is the knower of the Lord, is the Supreme Personality, is knower of everything. And he is an all in all. So this is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and this endeavors will know perfection. So this is the Vedic scriptures tells the same thing, but it is so many chapters, so many things are there, parts in it, karma kanda, jnana kanda, then upasa kanda, and so many things. Maybe I can show you that how vast it is. And it is, it's lot of chapters, lot of sections and things. To understand this will take you not one lifetime, and more than that. And there must be somebody to make you understand. But it finally tells is only the confidential part, that the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is there in the Vedic scriptures also. And it's not just he is the one who is claiming to be the Supreme Lord, but it's also given in the Vedas. So this is the essence. Bhagavad Gita is this. So what did we study? Through the inverted banyan tree is giving us the concept of how we get entangled in this material world, and how to get detached from this only by cutting down with knowledge. So unless we know this knowledge, that we are influenced by the modes of nature, and there is a world, spiritual world, apart from this, where we can go, and where there's no cycle of birth and death. Once you go there, no need to come back. Then he talked about the transmigration, and how when we change our bodies, how our subtle mind, how what all we carry over to the next body, how we design our next body is by how we live in this world today. And the mentality, and we get the type of body to enjoy because of our desires, whichever is still there, that kind of body we get. And then he is maintaining our body by giving us the facilities like sun, moon, and our digestive juices and the prana. Then mind by giving us forgetfulness, knowledge, remembrance, and our soul, because maintaining that. And how we are maintaining, we are the part and parcel of him, but we are forgotten. Okay, so we have taken, and unless if we doubt, without doubt, if you understand that he is the knower of everything, and take the shelter of a guru, then we can come to that understanding, take to devotional service. Summary of Vedas and Vedanta is explained. So he touched about Vedas also, maintains our spirituality by offering ways and means to achieve self-realization. He's been telling us all this, and escape the dangerous cycle of repeated birth and death. So we need to, so here he established his position as Purushottama, and it is evident in Vedas also. So material resurrection, we need to connect to God, because we have forgotten that, we are caught into this cycle. Then confidential part of Vedas is being talked about here, and Lord is the Supreme Being. We need to cultivate our transcendent desire to reach Goloka. And Vedas tells us to remember Supreme Personality Godhead is worshipable, and then our life would be perfect. Okay, it's a very short chapter. And oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your Gayatri. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, it's okay.
Okay, I didn't see your chant. Okay. So here, when did you learn this slokas? This is a very nice slokas. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, it was being taught for me in my school by third or second when I was studying.
Okay. वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवो नमो नमः. हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम